While we were on break, the people here live in class recorded this slide. For you guys that are at home, here's the slide that I want to look at. This is the closing information for this homework problem. Now, I'm going to tell you, there may be a test question or two on this exam, and remember those where it says, for the next 4 questions, use this information. There's a couple of those, and here's all the information to this particular closing. All right? If you're at home, take a minute, hit pause, look at all the closing fees. For you guys here, we've already went through them, so I'm not going to go through them again. Okay? But now, here's what I want you to do, and here's the easy way to solve this. This is not hard math. It's subtraction and addition. But here's the problem. You miss one question, and because it's a total of a column, you're going to miss the other total and then the total. So when you do these questions, I would suggest that you be sitting somewhere where your kids aren't yelling at you, your spouse isn't yelling at you, no one, your job's not yelling at you. Sit where you can sit and concentrate, because the key to answering these questions is putting every one of these in the correct cubby hole. All right? If you get them in the correct cubby hole, now it's just an addition problem that you shouldn't miss. But you put one in the wrong space because you're paying attention to something else, you're going to miss question 1, which adds that column, and then question 2, because you put it in the wrong, another column somewhere else, you're going to miss that one too. So you could potentially miss 4 questions by putting one number in the wrong space. So what I want you to do is grab a scratch piece of paper if you're at home, or a scratch piece of paper if you're here, or the bottom section, and what you're going to do is draw a big cross on your paper. In essence, you are making 4 little cubby holes. All right? You got 4 little cubby holes going on. If you remember the northwest quadrant or the northwest, what you got's the northeast and north, right? There's our 4 quadrants. In the northeast quadrant, or let's put it this way, on the west side, we're going to put the buyer side over here. On the west, the top and the bottom, and we're going to put the seller side on the east 2 quadrants, like that. Now, in the top buyer's quadrant, which is the northwest quadrant, we are going to put all of the buyer's debits. In the lower one, which would be the southwest, we're going to put all of the buyer's credits. Why do we put the debits on top? Because with a buyer, most of the numbers are going to be things he owes. Very little does he get a credit for. And you guys, and I mean non-math people, tend to panic and freak out when you have a bigger number on top and subtract a bigger number from a smaller number. So the only reason they're putting the debits on top is because it's going to be the biggest number. All right? A lot of people hate taking 2 minus 8. It bothers. They like to see 8 minus 2. So they put the debits on top for the buyer because it's the biggest number. All right? The east side of these 2 quadrants are the seller's side. Guess what goes on top for the sellers? Credits. Same reason. The seller's credits are going to be bigger than the seller's debits, and they like the bigger number on top. So what you've got now is 4 little cubby holes. You've got the buyer's debits and buyer's credits on one side, and the seller's credits and the seller's debits on the other side. Got it? Everybody get this? Now, what you want to do before we even start answering the question is take every one of those and put them in a cubby hole. It's that simple. So the first one out of the gate's the purchase price. Purchase price is a confusing one, because why? Where's this going? Very good. Say it louder, sir. It's actually going to because it's a buyer's debit and it's also a seller's credit. So that $278,000 is going to go in that top cubbyhole on both the buyers and the sellers because it's a debit, the buyer owes it, and the seller's getting it. So the purchase price is a unique one that it actually shows up in both. Earnest money. I have said this till I'm blue in the face. What's earnest money in a deal? I have said it many, many times. It's a credit to the buyer. So it goes down in this bottom one because it's money that he has paid when he wrote the offer in. It's going to get credited as his money at the closing. The appraisal fee. Who's paying the appraisal? Buyer. He owes this, so it's going to go in the buyer's debit up there with the fee for the house. So just write that $350 in there. Loan balance. You guys jumped on that really fast and good. Debit to the seller. Loan balance basically means what? The payoff, right? So $113,576 is going to go in the debit cubbyhole of the seller. Title policy, paid by the seller. Oh, seller's a nice guy. So we're going to go ahead and put that $550 in there, and that seller's debit right there below his payoff. The attorney fee, it's a debit because they said they split 50-50. So how much is it? $225 because it was $450 split 50-50. So it's a debit. But here it's going to look a little funny because on one debit, on the buyer side, it's going to go in the top box. On the seller side, it's going to go in the lower box because that's where debits are for those corresponding person. Deed recording. Buyer. Debit. His list is getting long. It's $25 for that. Termite report. Paid by the seller. Termite America report. Survey. Seller's debit. Seller must have been a really nice guy. He's paid for a couple different things here. All right, taxes paid in full. Uh-oh. Boop. We got to prorate this. Closes August the 31st. So let's draw our little thing on the board. There's the seller side, there's the buyer side. The bill is $1,950, and it closes August, which is 8/31. Now, just had an interesting question. Somebody told me that said, calendar days or business days? The answer is, in the real world, it would be calendar days because they have a calculator. They could. When you guys are doing this on the exam, you guys are going to have to go, how many days does November, January, 3rd, February, and add those up? No, you are not. Let me show you there are math tricks. And you can use these math tricks to get an answer that's within a couple dollars. All right? So, for example, if I told you it closes on August the 31st, what can you tell me based on an annual calendar?
That he paid $1,300 for his usage.
What's she saying? What'd you say? That's 8 full months, isn't it? How many months is a year? 12. So he used 8/12. You are going to, and actually if you do the math, it comes out to be like $1.25 off. If you just said that August the 31st was 8 months out of 12, that's 2/3. Take 2/3 of 1,300 of 1950. But the question is, you got to figure the buyers, so it's actually 1/3. We want the other third that we're talking about that hadn't been paid. And you end up with $650. Right? Because it's paid in full, which means the seller paid it. We know the seller paid it out of the gate. We know the seller's got a credit. How much does he get back? He gets a credit back for the 9th month, the 10th month, the 11th month, and the 12th month, which is 1/3 of the year, 4 out of 12. So he gets a credit for $650. So the seller goes to credit $650, which is right below his sales price. Think back to what I just told you a minute ago, that one we did about the $100,000 with 126. And I said if there were no other bills, he's going to walk away with 100,000 and 126. There it is. There's the credit he got back. But what also is this? It's not just a credit. The buyer has to get a debit. So over here on the buyer's side, we're going to add in a debit of $650 to cover the seller's credit. The loan amount, which is 75%, so what's that? $75% of the value of the house, and the value is the sales price. It's $278,000. If I think my memory serves me right, that's $208,500. Where's that go? Shouldn't be hard. I already wrote it on the board. It's a credit. This is one that people have a problem with because they're like, well, he's getting a loan. Doesn't he owe that? He will after he signs the IOU. But in this IOU doesn't come until after he does this, right? And by the way, when they record these things, you have to record the IOU before you record the mortgage because you can't collateralize something you don't owe. So they got to officially get you on the hook to owe something, then they record the collateral. All right. Real estate commission. $19,460. Who's paying it? Where's it go? It is a debit to the seller. Now watch this. For this information, please use the following information for the questions below. Well, it just so happens I got questions below. Question number 1 is, what's the commission amount? Oh, wait. We already did that one. So question number 1's already done. Boom, done. $19,460. Question number 2, please use the previous information for the following question. What is the buyer's tax credit or debit? Oh, did that one already. The buyer got a debit of $650. Boy, we're flying now. Woohoo! I'm going to go over here and put this on so they can see this. Here's the list. Third question is something stupid. No, wait. How much does the buyer need to bring to the deal? Here on the screen is the answers. You can see there's the buyer side I was talking about and the seller side, and then the debit on top, credit on bottom, and over here, credit on top, debit on bottom. And here's all the stuff that we put in. How much does the buyer need to bring to the table? Well, what we need to do is add up his debits and credits and then subtract one from the other. So let's add up all of his debits. If you take all of those numbers and add them up, you get $279,450. I got the buyer's debit, didn't I?
Unless you want to say the buyer's going to pay for the termite report.
Yeah, now the buyer's paying for the termite report. Yeah. See what happens? I was too busy yesterday when I was putting this back up here that I screwed it up. On the screen, I got it differently than what I said.
No, he's going to change it to say that the buyer.
Yeah, right over here where I put that the termite report paid by the seller was $200. We're going to make that termite report paid by the buyer. Watch this. See if this will work. I think I can edit the PowerPoint while recording. Termite report paid for by the buyer. I don't know if that'll change this or not. But will it change the recording as I'm doing it? Termite report paid by the buyer. Look at that. Woohoo! On the fly, baby. Now, if we did that, thank you, John. That will change the answers, but not for me because that's how I did the math. As you see over here, I put the termite report into the buyer's debits. So what you end up with is for the buyer's debits, $279,450. I hope someone can corroborate that. And his credits are $213,500. So he owes $279,450. He's only got, so far to date, $213,500. So what you need to do is you would call your client, that's the buyer, and subtract one from the other and say, hey, tomorrow's closing, you've got to bring $65,950 to closing. Right? That's the difference between these. Should that number shock you? Does that sound like a big number? Not really, because how much was his loan? 75. So you knew out of the gate he's bringing 25% out of the gate. If you do the math, that's, 280,000. A fourth of that is 70 grand. So he's in that ballpark number you should know right out of the gate. So question number 3 was, how much does the buyer need to bring? Well, we found that out, $69,950. Guess what question 4 is? How much does the seller earn? So let's do the same thing. $278,650. That's going to change my number over here, isn't it? No, I think I did it. So he owes $133,811, right? $133,811. If you subtract what he owes from his credit, the seller is going to walk away with $144,839. That is the answer to number 4, which is right there. What is the seller's proceeds? And here is that file. There are a couple of these on the exam. 144,839. I believe this homework problem is in this chapter. Even though I made you guys all copy it, it's all in the chapter. All right, any questions on this? It's not hard math, but obviously you can see that it's real easy to put in the wrong column because when I was doing it, I put it in the wrong column. And I actually did that on purpose so you guys would catch it so that you could see how easy it was. Do what? Yeah, I got a cell phone, but I don't think I have a true calculator. Make it good homework problem at home. Any questions? Testosaurus coming up. All right, bye.